Here we are, guys. Episode 42, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I've got Roxy Sawyer back to chat about inner child work today. And we are going to lean into the journey of healing and the journey of what inner child is and why would someone even consider doing this kind of work in their spiritual journey and the actual importance of this work. And if you guys listen to my previous episode with Roxy back, I think it was like episode 13, where we walk through the myths of birth control and the truth about birth control and her spiritual journey and why she got off of it. It was such a potent episode in that energy. But some of the things you may not know about her is that she's a medium, she's an energy healer. She also does like crystal therapy and a lot of crystal work and grid work with that. She's also tied to alchemy as well and the homeopathics energy too. She does a lot of aromatherapy work. And she's just this ball of fire. And I am privileged to have her in my life as one of my good friends. We connect personally, we connect professionally, and she shares some amazing nuggets in this episode today about the healing journey of inner child work. What is inner child work? Why would we consider doing it? We jam back and forth about our work that we've done with inner child and how it shaped and shifted our lives. And I'm just so excited about this episode to share it out with you. And just one thing I'm going to encourage, like I always do, if you're feeling it, take a photo of this, tag us on Instagram. We love to know when people are feeling stuff, listening to things, and it just helps spread the message of this podcast out into the world. So with no further ado, episode 42, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast, and Roxy Sawyer. Guess who's back? I'm so excited. So, for those of you that are new to this podcast, Roxy and I did an episode back, like I think it was episode 13. So, it feels like 500 years ago in the scale of my podcasting world. And we were doing a talk on birth control because it's such a pivotal dynamic of truth we're moving through in all different aspects in this podcast. And we were both really called to kind of share her experience with getting off of birth control through her spiritual journey, how that all connected. But today we really want to lean into this conversation. And for those that don't know, Roxy's like one of my BFFs. She's also a client of mine, as I'm a client of hers, and we play in each other's wheelhouse. We have had numerous lives together, including our witch lives and all different kinds of other dynamic landscapes. So she's in it with me. Okay, let's put it that way. But I was called to bring her back on because I think that this topic this time around is potent in its field, and all of them are potent in their own field. But I think that the conversation of like inner child work and us stepping into this work and what the fuck is inner child work and why the hell would we want to even do this is such a pertinent conversation in our spiritual evolution, expansion spiritually, but also to our healing journey. And there's a lot of deep rooted shit that a lot of us have went through as kids that is still like playing out in our field. So Roxy, like I know that this is a conversation you've been having a lot lately inside of, your content and what's moving through your capacity. But I'd love to hear like, the start of your spiritual journey has probably been your whole entire fucking life, although you didn't listen to it for most of your life, like this like the same story as me, Yeah. But like where do you want to lead? Like I'm gonna pass the baton to you to drop into your heart to just feel out like what do you want to share to start, and then we can kind of maneuver that forward because I feel like there's something potent that you want to lead with that you didn't know you wanted to lead with. But let's go there first.
All right. Ain't that the truth? Let's start with that. Didn't know I was going here, but I'm going to call it out. Don't wait for a fucking traumatic experience to happen for you to wake the fuck up.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Like, don't wait. Because a lot of times when it comes to a spiritual awakening, whether we are awakening up or whether we're pushing shit down, it happens because of a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And that's how I started paying attention.
I love it.
And well, it's true. I mean, I've had my own of growth, and I've been, awake my whole life, but I blocked it for a long time because of trauma when I was an early teenager. And then I didn't get out of the darkness until I was in my late 20s. And then when my dad died when I was 30, it rocked my whole goddamn world. And when you lose a parent, for anyone that's lost a parent, I feel you, I see where you're at, and I honor you, because losing a parent changes you in ways that you don't understand until you lose one. Mm-hmm. And I lost the parent that I had the strongest relationship with. My dad was, I was a daddy's girl my whole life. Yeah. And then when that happened, I went through my own journey of self-destruction and self-sabotage and trying to numb the pain. And I remember sitting on the corner of my bed, clutching this book, like it was like a children's book that my dad had written in. And I was pissed off because it wasn't in Sharpie and caps locks, because that's how he always wrote, but it was neatly handwritten. I was mad. And in that moment, I remember just crying my eyes out and saying, like, I surrender, because this isn't working for me. Yeah. God, show me the way. You gotta give me something, because whatever the fuck's happening ain't working. And then it was like from that moment on, I ripped the Band-Aid off, I surrendered, and then things started falling into place. I started meeting the right people. I started recognizing my own shit. Mm-hmm. Better terms.
Yeah.
And where I'm at today is I'm currently really leaning into inner child work, and I'm talking about it a lot because in the work that I do, I work with people who are more new to the spiritual awakening journey and might not even know what that means.
Yeah.
But when it comes to inner child work, I feel like it's really important. It's an important place to start, because your inner child is the reason that you are the way you are today. Your inner child is, it's her or his, it's her direct feelings, is a direct link to your weaknesses, your unmet needs, your unconscious mind. It's a direct link. Because when we look inside and go into that trauma, it's like you said, buried back so deeply that it is in those younger years. And it doesn't have to be this traumatic event as a child for it to trigger something deeper inside you. It could have been something as simple as a teacher said something to you.
Well, yeah, or like even it could be even womb work. Like in one of the programs I'm teaching right now, we're in the week of abandonment, and a lot of abandonment stems from the actual womb, where the parent, or obviously the mother at the time she was pregnant, was like, I can't do this. And now all of a sudden that energy moves through the womb, like it, and it's not even something that our conscious awareness is even there. Right. And some of the inner child work is in that space of the beginning of your soul in this body, and sometimes it's also from other things. But yeah, we'll stay in this life for this conversation,
but this topic. Okay.
Yeah, in this topic. But you so thank you for sharing all of that. And I know that your father's death was a pivotal point of you in awareness, for you stepping in, for you starting to see this spirituality in your world. And I've heard a lot, and especially with mediums like you, that a lot of the time it's because a death happens or a very traumatic event that they awaken these gifts inside of them, or not even awaken, that they remember them there. Because I think your whole life you knew but didn't know, right? So we have that kind of veil around all those things. And I want to quickly mention this, is that you've done a lot of shadow work over the last 4 years for sure. I met you in 2019, and we started doing work together then, but you've done a lot of shadow work, and a lot of the inner child work could be considered shadow work. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's the healing. Yeah.
It's definitely a piece of it. I feel like, because your shadow work, you're dealing with the doubt, the fear. I mean, you run a program all about this. Your 12 veils. But when it comes to your inner child, it's a lot of them, it's the unloved. It's the codependency that comes out in adulthood. And I mean, I'm going to own that I've always been a strong person. I'm an alpha female. I am a business owner. I run 2 businesses. I run a household with children. Like, I have a very busy life, and I know this. And when it comes to doing the inner child work, you really have to drop in and surrender and trust, and you have to tap into that feminine energy, which can be hard. And it's going back to that root of being told that you were never enough. And that first time that you heard it, who did you hear it from?
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And realizing that the reason, I think the big aha for me with the inner child work was when I realized that my hyper independence and the badass bitch that I owned was a result of my trauma. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. You mean I'm not just born this way?
Yeah,
You mean
you
I'm
were.
not just
I'm not just
you
like
mean
this badass bitch here
I'm
making
not
life
just this
happen.
badass bitch with this, like, you know, but it when I started really leaning into it, and I gotta share with that one of my biggest fears, because I had that persona and I was a tough bitch.
Yeah.
I went through my own shit. I was a scrapper. I was that tough bitch. But a lot of the key piece that I really had to surrender to and let go of is that by letting go and forgiving and moving forward from that, it doesn't change me.
Yeah.
I'm still tough. I mean, I'm not a scrapper anymore, but if someone
Yeah.
comes swinging, I'll swing back.
Yeah.
But it was letting go of that, because that was my identity for 15 years.
Yeah.
And that was a key piece for me, is letting go of that, because it was an identity.
Right.
I'm the bitch.
Yeah.
And I'll own it. But that's not truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the like illusions that we are playing out in our world are, they seem like they're real, like they really do, but it's an illusion that we've been playing within, or like in our verbiage that we use a lot, like a veil is there. Like we think that we know what the truth is, but there is this underlying pulse that keeps moving through, and the same patterns that keep showing up potentially in your world, that it's like, where the fuck is this coming from? I've done all this work, I can't seem to clear it. And a lot of the time it's really connecting in with your inner child. So let's break it down here, Rox. Like what actually is your inner child, and like what does that actually mean? Because some people may be like, I don't get it, like I don't understand, like what do you mean, do I need to like connect back to my 5-year-old self? Maybe, like, give us some
Maybe.
examples, yeah, of what this might look
Maybe.
like for some people, because I think that this is a kind of important, because I get it and you get it, and some of my people will get it, but some of the people listening to this may be like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like,
Story of my life.
yeah, see,
Well,
exactly.
so your inner child is a piece of your unconscious mind where we carry out our unmet needs, our traumatic experience, our suppressed childhood emotions and memories. And what these do when we suppress them is they create anchors in our bodies. And these anchors stop energy from flowing through, but these anchors can result in pain, illness, and ailments as an adult. You wonder why you always have pain in the lower back on the left side. You wonder why your right shoulder is always sore. And you chalk it up to repetitive motion. It's the job I do. But there is an emotional pattern attached to all your pain in your body, because everything is energy. And when we remove the veil of separating it all and realize that everything is energy, these suppressed emotions, these suppressed childhood memories are energy that are stuck in your body. And the analogy that I like to give on this one is like when you want to burst into tears and you hold it in and you get this ball in your chest and you feel it.
Yeah.
Now, if you cry and let it out, that ball in your chest goes.
Yeah.
You hold that in. Where does it go? It's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So sometimes you end up with a sore throat. You need to clear your throat. Sometimes you end up getting a chest infection. Sometimes it moves through your sinuses. Sometimes it goes the other way. But everything is energy, including our emotions. And this is the thing I really want to drive home, is that your emotions and your thoughts are energy. So if you're not expressing them and you're pushing them down, it's like filling a pot wanting it's full. You can only put so much in it before it starts to overflow. And that's where we start to get self-destructive and repeat these toxic patterns and have the same boyfriends that keep not being the good match for us, or having these
I wonder if
friends
that's a
that we
pattern
do.
that we used to hold. I
Or and
mean,
sometimes it shows up as just even with in your friends,
oh, for
you
sure.
know, and it's the wanting to always help someone.
Yeah.
And then I really, because I've always been one to really want to do that, but why? Why do I always want to help everyone? And I remember being a kid, and I was that kid that would always invite friends for dinner. And it would be Christmas Day, and I had friends that didn't celebrate Christmas, that
Yeah.
came from broken families. That I remember one Christmas, I think it was like 11 or 12. I was like, Dad, I got 4 coming for dinner. And he's like, oh, okay, no problem. I'll just make more potatoes. And my mom would look at me and be like, why? Like, where do you meet these people? You always bringing home the strays. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, she doesn't celebrate Christmas. Her mom's a drunk. This one doesn't have parents and lives with her friend or whatever. Like, but I would
Yeah.
always find the broken ones or the ones who were lost, because I was lost.
Yes.
I was broken, and I was mirroring that, and that's what I got. And I always tried to help, and I wanted to fix, and I wanted to guide. So funny enough, the job I'm in now, what I do, I am doing that in a much healthier way.
Of
So
course.
celebrating that.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's interesting is that when I finally broke the codependent energy in my life, it was December of 2020. And I've talked openly about this on the podcast and openly about this in all different programs and stuff like that. And I think you've probably heard me speak to this too. And it's like I didn't see the pattern of codependency in my world until that day. And everyone was like, dude, we totally saw this. I was like, why the fuck didn't anyone tell me? You know, like in this space, but I wasn't even prepared to even hold that. And then realizing as a kid, you know, I was always seeking attention. My brother was born 9 months after me, or like 15, we're 15 months apart. So, like, sorry, 15 months after I was born. I'm like, wow, 9 months, man. My mom got
9
pregnant like the
months.
next day. No, I mean, sorry, dude, I'm not into math apparently today. And luckily, I'm not doing any calculations. But like, I realized my brother was like the prince, and my dad always wanted a son. So in my mind, I made up that I was not enough. So I was always seeking attention. So that's why at the age of 2, I started stealing from the grocery store to get attention, because I would get caught on purpose. And I'm 2 years old, guys. Like, it's not like I'm like this
Consciously
magician,
aware of it.
but apparently I was taking actions in this way. And that led through my whole entire life, that I was always seeking attention. I would date guys that were 10, 15 years older than me, or in very influential spaces, or in different dynamics of certain energies, on purpose to feel love, to feel attention, and didn't realize later on that it was the driver into the codependent relationships that I was taking on, because I just kept trying to be seen. And until I started to really own that and then start to do the work around that and start to move through that, I wasn't able to heal that pattern. And now I will never go back into a relationship that way ever, even though sometimes they look juicy enough to want to take a bite into. You know, like,
Well, and I mean, codependency is a one of the wounds of an inner child. So is
oh,
addiction.
yeah.
And I mean, I went through my own state, and I battled addiction when I was younger. And
Mhm.
when looking at it now from a different lens, it makes sense. The people pleasers out there,
Yeah.
inner child wound, the difficulty saying no.
Mm.
I mean, some of us struggle with that.
Yeah.
Um, the avoiding conflict is
Yes.
another one. And the difficulty in trusting, building trust
Yeah.
into having relationships, being so goddamn judgmental and critical of yourself,
Yeah.
the perfectionism. These are all
Mm-hmm.
a result of inner child wounds.
Mhm.
So when you actually start to look, because we can all own it, some of us will, some of us won't, but it's all shown up, like whether it be addiction or self-critical or conflict avoidance or codependency. One, all of some of these have shown up in your life.
Yeah.
You're currently repeating it, and you might be listening to this going, holy shit,
Mhm.
how do I meet my inner child? Because this is the thing, when you start to heal that piece of you, because you today are exactly who you needed then,
Yeah. Mhm.
when you
Say
really
that
think
again.
about it.
Say that again.
You today is exactly who you needed as a child and didn't have.
Yeah. Or you are in awareness of it now and you're doing the work to become that version of you that you know you needed. Because I think some people are like right there, they're about to make the shift. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
even remembering this in your own awareness is like, if you were to imagine your inner child at the age of 5, let's say that that's the number. And apparently, there's something with number 5 in my field today. um, if you remember you at the age of 5, what parent were you desiring to have in your life at this time? And are you meeting that need? And it doesn't mean that you need to be a parent to yourself, but who is that person? What do they represent? What joy, love, light do they bring in the world? How do they show up in their life? Do they speak truth? Do they honor truth in others? Do they, whatever the mechanisms are? Because I think that there's a lot of people that are like on the cusp of moving it through. Like they're like, they know the choice they have to make and they're like, oh my God, I gotta fucking, and we've been there and we consistently go there all the time because we're moving through levels so fast in the work that we're doing. And sometimes we're getting roadblocked too. And we're like, fuck, I got here again. Like,
Yeah.
remember the call we did last week where you were like voice noting me and I was like, dude, you need to fucking clear yourself because this is not okay. Like,
Yeah. But I mean, when you think of your healing journey and when you think of like your life today, if you close your eyes and what do you want? You want peace and happiness.
yeah.
You want ease.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be happy.
Yeah.
Everybody wants peace.
Yeah.
Your inner child just wants love and understanding. And your teenage self, depending on you, might want some revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you bridge the gap between I want peace as an adult? How do I get peace?
Yeah.
Give your inner child love. And well, then you got your teenage self. And I spent a lot of years as an angry teenager. And
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of my own personal journey, a lot of the inner child healing um was through those early teen years, like from like 11 to like 15
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the big one. And
Yeah.
then again when I was really young. But diving into the younger years, I mean, I saw spirits when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had this crazy journey where I had like pain in my body from when I was a child. And my parents took me to the doctors. I had a whole bunch of tests and I was like 4 years old. And I kept saying, I feel things. My tummy hurts.
Yeah.
I feel something in my chest. I feel this. My shoulder hurts. My stomach hurts. My head hurts. And I'm 3 and 4 years old. So my parents took me to the doctors and I was getting all these tests done. And they chalked it up to the fact that I had anxiety and I had separation anxiety and I didn't want to go to school. And it wasn't until I was like, 20, I'm going to be nice to myself and say like 27, 28,
Yeah.
when I realized how much of an empath I was.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck was I feeling? Wasn't feeling my own shit. That's why the doctors couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of energy, I felt it all.
Yeah.
I felt the trauma that the person beside me was carrying and I couldn't process it.
Yeah.
I just felt things.
Yeah.
And it's crazy as an adult looking back now at how I raised my own child.
Mm.
And when he was younger and was in pain, it's okay, what are you feeling?
Yeah.
Where are you feeling it? And like back then, I mean, I was a teenage mom. I had him a month after I turned 17. I
Yeah.
flipped into survival mode when I had him because that's what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I have forgiven myself for that. And I did what I had to, and I did the best I could with what I had. But looking back now at how I parented him, it's amazing to see how we are intuitively being guided all the time.
Yeah.
If we choose to listen. And although that I was in a dark place, and although I was in survival mode, there was an inner knowing within me, and it's how I parented him. It was about feeling and expressing. And I remember he was like 5 when I got him one of those stand-up punching bags for anger work.
Yeah.
And he has his own journey that he's gone through and is still going through. And there was a lot of anger in those earlier years because of his own experiences. So release it, get it out. Here's a punching bag. And looking back, I'm like, God, I'm so smart.
Yeah, I know. You're like,
I was so in tune. But, until I started leaning in to really do the shadow work and start to heal the inner child, when I looked back at those years raising my son, I didn't look back and go, you were smart and look what you did.
Yeah.
I looked at all the things I didn't give him. I looked at all the things that I couldn't provide.
Yeah.
And I looked at all the places where I lacked. And when I started to go in and heal it, it was like, wait a second. Those are illusions that I placed there.
Yeah. I love this. And I love the knowing we have now to be able to impart this into the world. So if we are working with younger parents that are coming in, they can transition this easily for their kids or the grandparents, because a lot of the people I work with have kids that are a bit older already now. And now they're like, shoot, I wish I would have known this. I'm like, no regrets, guys. Now you're going to be able to help shift your grandkids, and help them move it through, because those grandkids are not only going to choose their parents, they're choosing you as their grandmother, grandfather, so it's like that ripple effect moving through the collective of energy and moving through the world. And I've done a lot of inner child work. I led a program last year on inner child work. It didn't drop into my field this year. Who knows if I'll still be doing? Yeah, it's in yours to do. Who knows? You never know what it might end up being later on this year, because you know how I float within stuff. But I know that you're really aligned in this. And I know that you've got a workshop coming up that's a live workshop in Newmarket, Ontario. I know I've got a lot of people that listen to this all across the world. So you do live stuff, but you also have really leaned into a potency of helping one-to-one work in this capacity and people really moving through this one-to-one work. Just summarizing that as Cole's notes version as you can, what might that look like for someone? Let's just say they're feeling this vibe and they're like, oh my God, this is probably where I need to go next. And now I'm going to say to you is, if it's pinging you, it's exactly where you need to go next. That's how it works.
Yes.
In intuitive hits. What would it look like? What would this look like in your life and in your world if they were to say, Roxy, I'm not ready, but I'm ready. Yeah. I'm not ready.
I am here to guide people back to themselves, because we all have a 2 million-year-old healer within us. And when we start to understand our body as an energetic system, and we treat it like an energetic system, and we give it what it needs, we open new pathways, and we are able to align in that, and we can heal our own bodies. In the journey of healing your own body and getting in tune with our own energy, you begin to hear that inner voice, because when it comes to growing and shifting who you are, because you're ready to make the change, it's always beneficial to have a mentor or a coach or someone that you vibe with to guide you. But when it comes down to it, it's all about you. Because in order for you to lean into this work, you have to want it, because you have to go back, you have to go inside, and you have to face your demons and face, and you have to own all the ugly parts of you that you keep hidden. So in the journey of working with me, if we're on an inner child journey, I'm going to connect you back to that inner child. I'm going to bring you into visualization. I'm going to bring you back to some activities so that you can really connect with them. And we're going to move through some inner child stuff. Shadow stuff tends to come up with inner child work. In the one-on-one work that I do, We do cover inner child. We do cover shadow. We do cover your chakra system. We talk about the energetic body. I connect you with your spirit guides and your higher self. So in the work that I do, I work with newbies. Mm-hmm. I love when you are on a journey and you are just starting and you don't know your head from your ass and you have no idea where to go.
Yeah.
I want to help you because I remember being in that state. Mm-hmm. And I met you actually when I started. You were like way beyond that. Luckily, I was able to catch up.
Well, we cleared first and then you trickled around, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know where the thing landed that we end. I don't even know how we, like, I remember the clearing because of that incident. And then I don't know how we even got back into alignment. Like it was that psychic session, I think.
I think it was no, it was the shadow work. I started taking your master classes.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it was all the shadow, the darkness. But
yeah,
when it comes to this inner healing, and I mean, the thing, I saw this quote a while back. I shared it with a couple of the groups, and I had to dig it out because I couldn't remember it. And I want to share this today because I know that some of us have strained relationships with one or both of our parents. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to dealing with a parent that you don't understand or that they don't understand you or that you just don't get along, when you start to go in and do the inner work, you start to realize that it's not about them. It's not, this brings me to this quote. So let me just read it out for you. Ready. If your wounded mom's higher self could speak to your conscious self, I'm not going to heal and wake up to my truth in this lifetime, but you will. You have all the codes to make it all happen for yourself, and then you'll raise the frequency of the collective. And this is a conversation that I feel so much in my heart. And when you look at it from a parenting standpoint, when you think of how you parent your own children, you might take things from your mom and take things from your dad and then implement your own stuff because it's the stuff that you needed. And then your child is going to have children and do the same. Yeah. Because we all shift and grow, or we follow the exact same way that our parents parented us because it's the only way we know. Yeah. And then we repeat the cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. Like at the age of 28, I obviously started my spiritual journey, and it was literally 14 now-ish years ago. And at that age, the first thing that I remember learning and really implementing was your mom is in your life to show you what not to do. And once I fucking understood that, it was like I could breathe. And I was like, because I wasn't trying to make her into something else anymore. I wasn't trying to push her into being the mom that I desired. I wasn't trying to make anything up. I was like, oh my God, mom can go in her box and be in her mom box. And I don't have, nothing has to shift. All I need to recognize is that's her box and that's where she plays. Yeah. Right. And like now that I understand that, and my mom has done some of the work. Okay. But when I look at surface level and why a lot of my spiritual journey started off surface level was because I mimicked watching my mom move through that. You want to heal? Yeah, I got this. I got the next certification on this. Like my mom is like master Reiki practitioner. She got raindrop therapy. She got fucking all the things, right? And then you would be like, Mom, this. And then I get a call from her, you need to believe in Jesus. And I'd be like, who the fuck is this? I mean, like my spiritual mom that thinks she knew everything and was like, I knew you were sneaking out of the house at 13. I was like, you fucking had no clue until like 5 years later when someone told you, and now you're trying to tell me that I was, because you would have been sitting on my fucking bed and I would have been grounded if you would have known I was sneaking out at 13, right? And it's like, but that was the breath for me of fresh air to understand. And then I was able to actually have a relationship with her because I had no expectation, right? And that was released. And whether my mom ever awakens fully into the capacity that I know is available for her, it's not my journey. I'm not her guide. I'm not supposed to be. I hold space for her. If she has questions, she can ask me. But, my mom still in January came to Costa Rica with another couple. My parents came with another couple. And she says to me, Colleen, can you just like not talk about dragons and like, you're channeling
Tone it
stuff
down.
and, like, and I'm like, Mom, I'm never going to diminish my light again. I'm not going to outwardly just speak it into existence. But if it comes up, guess who's talking about it? Me. Because for a lot of my life, I kept this light dim, and you were a reason in some of the space too that I did that as well. But I'm not blaming you. I'm taking ownership on this whole entire thing. But I was like, no, no, so you have a pedestal that you want to keep playing on, play on your fucking pedestal, but I'm not participating in your little party. Like so.
Yeah.
And I have never been that way, but now I understand my truth and being able to hold that. Like that was a big deal. And I know that you've
Well,
had some of these moments
oh,
too. Yeah.
definitely. And I think it's really realizing that your parents are humans.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to being a parent, there's no goddamn guidebook
Yeah.
that tells you what to do. Every kid is different.
Yeah.
Everyone's experience is different because everyone is raised differently.
For sure.
But realizing that our parents have their own traumas
Yeah.
and realizing that that's okay and
Yeah.
holding them where they're at. And when you start to do the inner work on yourself,
Yeah.
those directly connected to you, like your children,
Mm-hmm.
start to heal in their own way. Because when you heal these things on a deep level, your whole bloodline feels it.
Yeah.
And you start getting into ancestral healing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to this healing, you start to realize the relationships that you have in your life, be it with your family, with your friends, with your partner, the ones that are not in alignment with truth, where they're projecting onto you, no longer fit in your life
Yeah.
because it doesn't work. You see things so clearly. And I know, I mean, being a medium and having the gift of sight, I see a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
as I'm sitting in this inner child work right now,
Yeah.
what I see is a lot of people's inner child.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm seeing a lot of children run around.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, pay attention to me. You
Mm-hmm.
don't listen,
Yeah.
is what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because as a parent, you get so caught up with what needs to get done between working and preparing and running a household and a business and a job that you forget those simple things of sitting with your kid for 5 minutes, watching a show with them, connecting with them on a level is so important. And if it's so important to do with the children that we raise here on this earth, why isn't it something that's part of healing? Because having that connection with your inner child is just as important because their feelings govern who you are today.
Yeah.
It's a direct link to why you are the way you are.
Yeah. And well, a lot of us fear doing the work, right? And like, as we know, in the collective energy, and for those of you guys listening to this podcast, you are part of the collective, just saying it out loud. It's we're being called forward to do the deeper work. Like the work that we're in right now is deep rooted shit. It's not like the stuff we were dealing with
Yeah.
5 years ago. It is the fucking deep rooted stuff. Like this is like the healing needed for your expansion energy, for you to lean into the divine birthright that you have. This is the block right here. And the divine birthright for each of us is literally filled with all the possibilities of everything that we actually desire. And each of us desire different things in our world, but it's fluidity there. And it's this
Yeah.
this dynamic right here, right now that we're dealing with to move through. And whether it's inner child work, whether it's in shadow work, whether it's in choice and our human making choices now to actually fucking step in, where that's where I'm at. I'm like, fuck, I've done a lot of shadow work and I'm not in shadow right now. I am in movement of choice. Like that's where I'm at. Will I go back to shadow? Fucking right, somewhere down the line, because guess what's happening? Next level shadow, yay! And it's the same thing with the inner child, because we'll get pinged somewhere along the line and go, shit, why am I not feeling worthy? Because, remember that time when you were 3 and da 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 said that to you? Fucker. And then you go back in, and it's part of the journey, and it gets easier to recognize it when we live in awareness. but we've got to start to step in to do the work now. And if you're listening to this and you got this far in the podcast, there's something here for you. I guarantee you there is.
Yeah.
There's something here. Yeah.
Well, and like your inner child isn't this being. It's all connected to your soul. Your inner child, your shadow self, your higher self, and your human. You're all connected.
Yeah.
So when we talk about being in alignment,
Yeah.
being in alignment with all of it, being in alignment with your inner child so that they're in a good place, so that you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Recognizing when shadow is present so that you don't sabotage your day. You go, no, bitch, not today.
Yeah.
That's my line.
Yeah. I know.
No, bitch,
You're not playing today. You go back to the
no.
bench. I know.
And then sometimes she comes in. And when and I've gotten to a point in my own healing journey that when the shadow comes in, it's okay. You're here. Let's work together. How do we work in this? And it's no longer something where I'm on a self-destruct for 2 weeks. I also have this awesome mentor who calls me out on my shit. Doesn't let me do that.
I wonder who that is.
Oh, right. But
I'll put a link in the show notes. I'm just joking.
I think the key piece here that I want people to really realize is that it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
And your journey. Everyone is different. Your healing journey is muddy, it's murky, it's ugly. You gave a lot of ugly cries. You are beating yourself up. You spend time in the dark. You scribble on journal pages instead of writing words because that's how you feel. You can't even put it in words.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it's so beautiful because things just get easier
They do.
when you let go of the resentment, when you let go of the fear, when you let go of the doubt, and when you learn to forgive yourself. And that's a big one. It's forgiving yourself. So realize that you're all one. Everything is energy. And it's about aligning energy. Because the more you align and you heal the trauma from your inner child and your shadow, the easier it is to connect with your intuition and your higher self. Because it's all connected. And your intuition, your pineal gland, like this is a muscle just like every other muscle on your body. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. It's like when you start on this journey and you have a light and it's like, oh, we've ignited the light. Okay, now let's grow that light. How do we do that? We start trusting. We start believing. We start leaning in to do the work. Now, the workshops I do are group workshops. And they're meant for condensed times. So they're usually about 3 hours. And it's all about education, awareness, expansion. And you're definitely going to get a shift of some kind in this workshop. The one-on-one work is where we go deeper in.
Right.
It's where we dive deeper into the stuff that you really bury.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to when we get to the nitty-gritty shit, that's when it starts to get fun. And I mean fun, but it gets ugly before it gets fun.
Yeah.
Because it's understanding yourself on all different levels because you are a multidimensional being. So it's understanding the different layers of who you are and remembering that it doesn't have to be hard. That life isn't meant to be hard.
Yeah.
That we're here to learn, and growing, shifting, changing, evolving is all, it's what you're meant to do here on this earth.
Right. Yeah. So true. And I think that remembering that in that potency and in that perspective will help us see things clearer. Because I think we get caught up a lot in the muddy, and we're in the mud and we keep fucking going deeper into the mud. It's like, what do they say when you're walking through hell, don't stop, like keep fucking going, you gotta get out. Like, so it's that same perspective of firstly trusting yourself and really leaning in. Like, where are you being called right now? Like, what's showing up in your field? What are you avoiding? Like, that was a big thing for me in the work I was doing. What am I avoiding? and personal responsibility is a big component right now of the energy that we're moving through, because we can't move through energy until we fully own like our responsibility in it. It's shown up because of us. And it's like, sometimes we don't want to swallow that because some of the dynamics of our world are like fucking intense, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's for your learning and it's all here. So what I feel like we're coming to a close. I feel like we've kind of hit a lot of really cool shit in this podcast, and I look
Yeah.
forward to creating the show notes on it. But what do you feel like? What do you want to leave people with, Rox? Like, we're obviously going to put your links in the show notes. People can connect with you on Instagram. We'll put the link if people are local to Newmarket and they want to come out this weekend to the workshop, because this is launching on Friday. It's on Saturday, literally. But if they miss it and they listen to this in 5 months from now, but they're like, shit, it's time for me to do inner child work, like, we'll get your information in the show notes and they can grab it there and contact you and move that through. But where do you want to leave everybody today? Like, what's the energy that you want to kind of close out and bring into a circle, we'll say?
I want you to start just getting present in your body and start listening. And what I mean by that is getting silent. So whether you're inside or outside, taking a few breaths and feeling into your body and really just getting present. It's when we get present in our bodies that we don't allow the thoughts to come in and try and control our future, and we don't allow the emotions that are triggered from events in our past to take hold of us. We're present in the now. We can feel into our bodies and we can connect with that inner voice. And if you're new on the journey of growth, then it's about just getting used to that and practicing.
Yeah.
Practice. Just learn to get present in your body. Breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. Just connect with that inner voice and figure out how it shows up for you. Sometimes it might be a feeling. Sometimes you might have goosebumps. Might be a gut feeling. Might be something in your throat. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Get present. Start listening and pay attention.
I love this. And I love, as you know, and you're in my world a lot, it's like I speak to the silent part all the time and the grounding and feeling out from your heart. And some of my one-to-one clients make fun of me all the time because they're like, she's just going to say drop into your heart. And I'm like, dude, that's where all the answers are. It's actually that simple. But we complicate it as humans all the fucking time. So I love how you brought it back to that reconnection and listening, because it is there. And that's our whole pathway, is that a lot of us are looking externally for the validation when everything is inside of us. And we just need to remember that. And God works inside of us. Universal alignment, spirit source, all comes through us. Like, it's not like they're outside of us, they are in us. So really aligning in that pulse, in that energy. So I feel like we're good. Like, I feel like this is a really cool endeavor that we just came on, and that we just shared a whole lot of stuff with the collective. So I'm grateful for that. And yeah, I'm grateful for you, obviously, in all the dimensions we play in each other's world and how we move and shake. And thank you for serving in the energy today. Like, I feel like this is an important conversation. And I was like, when I said to Roxy, I was like, I haven't talked about inner child yet. She's like, you haven't? And I was like, no, we're on episode 42 now. And I haven't talked about inner child work. She's like, and I said, that's why I wanted you to come on and talk about inner child work, because it's an important piece of the whole thing. And we're growing and changing together. And that's one thing too to note. It's like, give yourself some grace too, guys. Like, yeah, sometimes we're on a fucking roller coaster and that's the energy we need to hold. But a lot of the times we just need to get quiet. And in that is where the shifts happen. So yeah.
You can only put off meditating for so long.
Seriously. I'm being smacked across the head lately about fucking meditating.
Yeah.
So it's important.
It's silent. Well, I'm very grateful for you and all that you do and sharing your light into this world and being on your podcast again, because I love these vibes and I love that we get to speak our truth and drop some F-bombs in the process.
Every single episode I publish has an E, so like, and I am owning that. And I'm very much aware when I swear sometimes, because some people in my world don't like it when I swear. And here's what I have to say to them: fuck you. Okay, perfect. I think that's a great way to end. So Yeah. Yeah. Just so grateful for all the things, Rox. And thank you again for sharing your light with us today.
Thank you. Light and love to you all.